Yes, I know, it's 2111, but I don't know who 2111 is. All I know is this must be someone who means business. Leanok is screaming with them, which means he's choosing to do private games up against them. And he's been screaming a decent amount. I think they've had like 4 or 5 together at least in the last day or two. They are taking the Golden Heights. Mongols versus Chinese, kind of surprising here. Love to see Leanok returning to the roots. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Leanok's beginning in AoE 4, but this was the Civ that he mained. This was the Civ that he just learned inside and out. In fact, I would say at the start of the game, Leanok was easily top 2, if not top 3, on the Chinese. These days, I feel like he kind of peeled away from it. In fact, if you ask me which Civ Leanok plays, which is his main nowadays, it's either the French or the Abbasids. I think it was actually French until they felt underwhelmed in the most recent patches, and he's kind of been trying to shine on the Abbasids. But a return to the classic. The Chinese on a map like this, you know what they're going to do. They're going to immediately pull across to the lake, which is a very ambitious play up against the Mongols. A little bit surprised that he done this, but the cool thing to keep in mind that Leanok has on his side, he can wall himself in here. He even has the ability to rush up Iraqs, because one cool thing you have as a Chinese with the Supervise is additional early wood influx. So you can afford these additional defenses. You don't need them. Considering 2-1-1-1, which go 21 from now, is on the way with Iraqs. Mongols, by the way, have been quite a dominant Civ on this map. I feel like it's probably one of the most picked Civs. They must have one of the highest win percentages on Golden Heights specifically. Just a great way of being the early tempo aggressor, controlling the mid-map. You force these awkward clashes around the waterfront, and one other really cool thing I love about them is with the short reach of your opponent's base and the way that the woodlines typically spawn between you, you get this ambush factor from going 2 or 3 Magadite at the start of Feudal that most Civs can't actually answer, right? That's why I think we've seen a lot of players actually go English, where we get these very interesting clashes around the waterside between Mongols and English, which then leads into a denial of the raiding at home, because no self-aware Mongol player that wants to win a game is going to build Magadai up against the Lombos, up against the English. Interesting early pull-out here by 2-1 as well, going on to the deer stack. Of course, Leanok will get all the info. One cool thing about playing the Chinese is the fact that you see everything, even what your parents do. Even when Santa comes down to you, no matter what it is, Chinese scouts always see it, courtesy of Tang Dynasty. They even see so much that they see into the future and see their own death. It's kind of fitting for how many of us have accidentally, even without this extra vision, ran our scout into the enemy TC. Which, I've got to say, anyone, like, shout out to anyone in the chat who has ran their scout into the enemy TC as the Chinese. I do feel like it is an accomplishment. Like, it's the type of thing where it's actually a lot more impressive to die with a Tang Dynasty scout than it is to live. I'm sorry, I'm making people feel bad about their plays right now, I'm aware. Chop coming through. Leanok, you need to build... Wait, what is this? Is it... Are we trying to wall them off, or are we just building a tower defense game? What the bloody hell was this? Oh, no. That could not have went much worse. Leanok, that was incredibly slow on the wall up. Wow. It's crazy because he could have just walled to the point there, right? He should have just been able to connect it across. But instead, now he's just made a beautiful little pathway. And lost 2 villages for a trouble. Not just that, he's probably going to lose the dock as well. Leanok, keep in mind that he invested heavily on this waterfront, right? He built the walls up, quite a lot of them if you think about the idle time as well as the wood cost. And then he built 4 fishing boats. He's nowhere near ready to tech up. He went into Iraqs as well. I mean, this doesn't get much worse than this. If this outpost goes up, he's pretty much stuck. 21 tried to delay here. Spearman will be able to clash and delay this. This is just getting worse the more I watch it. This is a fight, by the way, that Leanok will lose long term. If he gets baited onto the card, it's even worse, because now 21 can just send the rest of the spearmen in, torch this down. He has a spear advantage, so Leanok can't fight. Oh, man, this is why I expected Leanok to drop the racks where the outpost is now being built. If he had production on his side next to this fight, right? If he had that advantage as the defender, I think he can push this back. But instead, the only thing he can do is pray for a trade. A trade which it's not going to be quick enough here. He's got, what, 6 spearmen on the way. Deer Stone is about to complete. And immediately you're going to see a light junk being built. And what makes it even worse is, remember, the moment that 21 gets rid of this dock, he can build one here. Right? Almost like you should get a discount for building in the ruins. This army might be ruined soon as well. I mean, you just can't torture quick enough. He can kind of play on the RNG. Archer ships aren't known for their consistency, but you'd have to play the RNG for quite a while. And man, trying to build... No, there's no way this outpost goes up. In fact, instant target onto it, so 21's going to force the cancel and move away by the army. And the reason why he doesn't want to commit for the torch down is even if he got it, you know, he'd have like 2 spearmen left in a situation where 21 has 5. So instead, he'll just walk across the map. Remember, he does know about this gathering that's been happening from 21 out in the deer. Which, by the way, really big shout out to 21 for doing that. It's why he was able to get a tech up so much quicker than Leenock, even though he's investing into spears. Sure, some of it is in passive production via stone, but the other part of it is the fact that instead of gathering on the sheep with his starting eco, he went straight to deer, 0.75 food compared to 0.84. So much better. Now I expect 21 just to back away. She better back away quickly here. Oh, no. Oh, okay. That might be problematic. He packed the deer stone up too quickly. Maybe he can body block this? Wow. Okay, Leenock's just going to let him get away. So 21, usually you'll see someone wait on the deer stone, but he was paranoid that if he waited too long on the deer stone, this many spearmen would have body blocked his deer stone trying to escape, which is what they're now doing to the Gur. So I do understand it, but it did almost cost him 2 villages as a result. So moves back to a safe point. Did go into the archer range. He really could just go Magadai here. I really love the idea of Magadai. Archers make sense against this many spearmen. But after he's got 6 archers out, I would love to just see 2 Magadai to raid the backside. Speaking of raiding, he actually just ignored the fight and started to get some burn down. Remember, you do get paid for doing this as the Mongol player. Well, 21 did do what we talked about. He built that second dock, so this is an insane amount of eco coming in. Leenock now just full land. Khan. You can't do that. No, you can't do that. He died for that joke. All right? F's in the chat. He died for that. He died because of that terrible joke. $21, though. Whew. This is just... I mean, he should be able to crack Castle Age so much quicker than Lee. Yes, I am a dad now. Been a dad for almost a year. God. It's really showing in my jokes. Not gonna lie. They're getting worse and worse. I can feel it. This game's getting worse and worse for Leenock as well. 21. Ooh, Lee. Yeah, he just about reacts quick enough here, so won't lose the scout. But the sheep! L's in chat for the lamb. So there's a worry that when you try your tech up now, the archers are going to be able to mess with you. Instead, Leenock is going to build a second TC. Playing Prolonged Feudal is probably not a good idea here. You do have the hand cannon slits to try and offset the dive with the Lancers, but I don't think that's going to stop. I genuinely think like Lancers can easily commit in at this phase. Those Lancers will be coming through soon. Oh, you're damn right they will be. Double stables, double archer range. I mean, we might see Magadai plus Lancers here. I'm a really big fan of this. With the step readout, we'll have enough gold to afford both. With the fishing on water, he'll definitely be able to afford both. And the importance of those 2 in the dive means that the villagers can never get away. Right? Lancers just essentially become a meat shield, a mobile meat shield, and the Magadai just run you through. Alright, but 21 says instead it's going to be the crossbows, which is understandable. This just sets him up to counter any sort of solution that Leenock might have. Because we can see that Lee isn't going castle. And I think if 21 can see that as well, it's probably a Magadai play. But because they don't have that info, because they don't see this info, they're going to just assume that there's Castle Age on the way, and the natural play for a Chinese player is going to be to go into Palace Guard. Yeah, I think what Leanok's doing here is really slowing down his game, though. The problem with what he's now just done is unless he wants to go into Horseman, he's not going to guard the mid-map. So now 21 can just go and pick up all the relics. In fact, I would expect a temple to be dropped very soon, probably in the next minute. Logic being is you want to get the first few Lancers out to defend it, and then you can go collect very safely. Love the fact that 21's used these archers consistently, by the way. He built them, and then he didn't stop trying to find a justification for it, right? It wasn't just to scare away spears. It was to always kind of move in and be a nuisance. He will look to snipe a few of the villies. So it does prevent the outpost going up. And he can continue to do this. Continue to, like, probe, force the idle time. It's worth it as long as you're pushing something more valuable afterwards. Looks like the play is going to be going to crossbows. Now, he could have chosen to go into the Lancers faster, but it seems like he was on a delay. He didn't have the gold, and I'm wondering... It wasn't just the crossbows. I think he maybe... Did he prioritize a blacksmith upgrade? It must have been the siege engineering improved, right? Yeah, so he prioritized that into crossbows to build the first treb, as opposed to going for Lancers. It's a pretty cool idea, actually, especially when you're up against the Chinese with the hand cannon slits. You know, you could go Lancers, but they'll just easily get munched into with about 80% of the damage going through their armor. By going for the trebs faster, you get a slower but more unstoppable solution to your opponent. Continues to probe here. Second TC, you guys are right, is coming up behind this. Very compact second TC from 21. Lancers are now going to start hitting the other side of the base, so continued frustration into Leanok's eco. His eco is becoming northern side focused, though, so these Lancers shouldn't be able to get easy access. Now the tech up complete, Lee should be able to get a better solution. More spinmen are being pushed, so Lancer raids shouldn't really find maximum impact here. But the Lancers will immediately be shut down. Ambitious for what they're trying to do here. I like the fact that he tries to snipe out one of the Imperial officials, but unfortunately for 21, the second Lancer started charging too early, so he got hit by the brace of the spears. Otherwise, it's not a bad exchange, right? Getting rid of this Imperial official, it's 150 resources off the table. It also gets rid of that extra 20% gathering for a time. So it's a reasonable exchange for one Lancer. It's not great, but it's reasonable. Unfortunately, he gets nothing for it. Trebs are now being built up, though. Leanok is on the clock in terms of resource access, but that clock has quite a bit of time left to it. There's plenty of wood on this line, and there's plenty of gold nearby. So don't feel like, just because it looks like Leanok has no map control, this game is essentially done. 21 needs to be doing justifiable moves behind this. Things like picking up the relics, things like playing out into pocket ecos himself. These are things that he's now only doing. So on such a big delay, you have to question mark whether going for this treb play was worth it to sacrifice the scaling you would have got otherwise. Lancers early. Okay, he will react quick enough. Perks having clock tower springalds. These hand cannon slits are such a pain in the arse, like we talked about, though. You can see the amount of damage he took there. 20 per shot. Repair. It's going to make this very hard to breach with just one treb. Cool little detail here, by the way. 21 did pull villagers for the outpost, but now also for the repair job. So should kind of give him an edge in these exchanges. Because the treb's going to keep baiting him to trades, but ooh. A little bit overzealous again for 21. I really like the way that 21 played the early infantry usage and the way they're using this crossbow mass, but it's got to be highlighted. The Lancer play so far has really lacked. Like, they've been getting sniped out in multiple circumstances. Usually you make that type of play, like you know, someone who's used Lancers frequently and is very in tune with it, will pull the Lancer back to bait the spinner further out and never get hit in the brace. He's not holding a lot of wood, by the way. I think we're going towards a farm transition now, which is why he was hoarding so much food. I know there's question marks around that, but you have to keep in mind, like, you know, he's keeping reserves in case he needs another option. We are now going to see the farm transition. We'll set him up for the Chinese war machine, but that is now buying time for 21 in the meantime to build up a siege force, to get a bit more serious about the breach. I think now that we see fortified outposts coming out, his only choice is to go more trebuchets. Earlier point, 21 probably could have just went for raid, but now you need this kind of strong punch, right? You can't chip away at your opponent because everything's funneled in. '21 will be fully aware that they're on the clock. It's always the feeling you get when you're up against the Chinese and the English in particular. Their ceiling is going to be higher than yours. Not many civs can argue that statement. Relics being gathered, though, is going to give a boost to the eco for '21. Remember, he did put that second TC, so in terms of the villager advantage, it is with him, especially when you consider the fishing that's still going on. And even when these deep water fish are done, remember, shoreline fish got buffed. 0.63 food gathering rate up to 0.7. Meanwhile, I believe shoreline fishing got brought down from 1 to 0.9, if I recall correctly. So the difference is actually much less than it was before. So sure, you're going to see a hit to your eco, but it's not as substantial as it was in the past. Lancers once again just getting picked. It's so hard at this point, though. This is more forgivable to see him losing Lancers now, because he's up against 20+ spears. There's no easy way in. But the early phase, like I just think back to when he built the crossbows and then went siege engineering. Would it have been better to open Lancers? I think so. But, you know, hindsight is 2020, right? Love the way Leanock's using the Springwoods as well. 30 damage might not be much, but 2 of them is enough to kill a villager, so you can stop this crawling of outposts. It's very important as well, because these Springwoods, sure, they got kind of crippled on their damage against heavily armored units, but up against spears, 40 damage with a better attack speed than it used to be is going to put a smile on the Mongol player's face if the fight ever commences under these. If I was 21 right now, I'd be uncomfortable with how slow the game is going. He knows he needs to find a way in. The problem is the longer he waits, the more he fails to flank this side, the more likely it gets walled off, and the more likely the farms continue to expand. But for now, Leanock? Oh, Leanock's clashing on the front side. He actually commits to the fight, and it's a fight that he's losing. Springwood exchanges are not in his favor. Crossbow's also moving in. It seems Leanock, he got stuck between a rock and a hard place. He chose to pivot south side, but now he's sacrificing so many villagers up here. They continue to die. The main fight continues. By the time the crossbows arrive, they've done nothing. Oh, Lee. Worst possible way this could have played out. I mean, that should be him done. I don't see a way you get back from this. You just lost all of your farm workers. You just lost your siege. You lost pretty much everything. Leanock, he goes where we all go when we lose faith in everything else, to the bees. But with nothing to protect it, damage kind of done, right? Like half of your farmers got killed here. You're now almost 20 villages behind the Mongols. The only thing really missing here is hoovering up the last of the relics, and then it'll be a mile ahead. I mean, at this rate, while Leanock's still scraping together the remnants of his eco, 21 could flirt the idea of Imperial Age. Obviously, you're not going to do that because you'd sacrifice mid-map control, but that's really how far ahead he is. You guys are right. 21 could start trading. I didn't mention it. I think at this stage it's kind of a bait. Remember that trading got nerfed by 10%, so the return on investment's a little bit slower. It's definitely an option on the table, but I don't think 21 cares about gold. It's not really a limiting factor for them right now. So if anything, food is what they need more of at this point. And Lancers wants... 21's like, that worked out pretty well. Leanock's like, fool me once. Ow. Fool me twice. Ow. Stop fooling me! Oh, God. It's just more Villies dead. Once again, he's just dancing to the tune of his opponent. 21 just so quickly reactions. Won't even lose the trebuchet on the other side. Clash commences. I mean, honestly, just peel the Lancers off now and chase the villagers. He doesn't even need to commit them to the fight. Crossbow should just be able to start a step back and win this definitively, but 21 instead decides to strong arm the fight. Cost them a lot more than it should have. Yeah, there was not much start stepping going on here. I was a little bit surprised by 21. Still, one Lancer into the eco can cause a lot of damage. And they're probably very content that, you know, despite these losses, they are so far ahead elsewhere, they don't care. Right? So, like, in their eyes, a more or less even exchange is a good exchange because they have the clear lead. More villagers dying. I mean, it's getting a bit brutal now. Lancers in on the front side. So many dead. I was looking for where they died. 55 villagers have died. 55! But don't worry, Leenock fans. Leenock killed villagers too. He killed one. Oh, the pain. I think Lee is close to done at this phase. And the crossbows are still on the backside. This has been his kryptonite, by the way. This wide flank time and time again. If Leenock could go back and change anything, it's not the first time it's been said, build walls. He wishes that he covered this flank because it has been the bane of his existence and will give 21 a brutal beatdown victory at the end of the day.